Hey guys, this is God of Politics, and I know many of you are already going to be asking where I've been. I've been very busy, and I haven't been able to make any videos, but I am back with a video today, and I really just had to come and talk about this video because my home state of New York finally finished their redistricting map, and as you can see here, it's absolutely awful. I mean, it is arguably the worst map, and it's certainly one of the worst maps, along with states like Texas, states like Illinois, states like Maryland, Tennessee. Those kinds of maps have made, they've just been awful. They've been awful maps through and through. We didn't really expect anything better than that, but regardless, these are terrible maps. I'm going to go through them, explaining why I think they're terrible, the communities that they split up, what they did to gain a partisan advantage, what they did to try and please incumbents, all of that. I'm going to go through it. New York State, as I said, is my home state, so I do know a lot about it. And I think knowing more about it has just made my opinion even worse on these maps. I have a worse opinion on them because of it, because I know just how badly they split up communities and all the terrible things that they've done. So I guess I can start with the first district. Out here you can see we've got these very liberal areas out in eastern Long Island, the Montauk area, and they've stretched it through some lean Republican areas through this college town over here, and they've connected it down to very blue areas. Simple example, gerrymandering. That's very, very obvious. Then to, complement that, they've got a more Republican district here, the second district. This is a vote sink for the Republicans. They've got the reddest areas in Long Island all in the same district. They've also split this red area up so that they can get the first district to be blue as well as the third district. The fourth district stays roughly the same. It's not a terrible district, but everything around it is terrible. And the third district is arguably one of the worst districts in this map. It takes a lot of the similar areas that it has now. It takes these northern areas of Long Island, but then it stretches up into Westchester. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense. You've got these areas of Long Island, which, sure, they should be kept in the same district. You'll have a lean Democratic area over here. Then it stretches a little bit into Queens. Then it goes up through the Bronx, and then up here to these super liberal areas in Westchester County. I mean, that's just a clear example of gerrymandering there. You've got Tom Suozzi here, who is retiring, and they needed to shore up this district, and they've done so, making it a D+14 district, which even in a Republican wave year is probably going to stay with the Democrats. I mean, it's really just a terrible, terrible district here. We can look at the 5th district here. That's a black majority district. The 8th and 9th district are both also black opportunity districts. And, of course, we can get to the 11th district here, which is gerrymander. Currently, you have Nicole Malliotakis here, the Republican who flipped this seat in 2020. And you can see that they've done so. They've gerrymandered it by stretching it up to very, very liberal Park Slope areas. They didn't do it by connecting it to any black majority areas or any minority heavy areas. They connected it to Park Slope, this neighborhood over here, which is a very, very liberal but also quite a white neighborhood. And so they've been able to make it VRA compliant while also making it a very blue district. And I guess I should already talk about the 10th district, one of the ugliest district, if not the ugliest district anywhere in the country, really. I mean, just look at it. It's just terrible. It stretches all the way up from areas up here near Columbia University, stretches down through the Upper West Side, down through Hell's Kitchen, down through Lower Manhattan, stretches into Brooklyn, goes down here into the Red Hook area, stretches around Park Slope, the very liberal area that they've used to gerrymander Staten Island in New York's 11th Congressional District, stretches down here through a park, not even any people here, just through a park, through another very liberal neighborhood, and through to these very, very Republican areas. Now, this is probably the ugliest district. I'm not going to say it's the most gerrymandered district because of the fact that New York City is so liberal. Any way they're going to draw this was going to make a blue district, but there are many different factors at play. As I mentioned, they wanted to keep Park Slope, or they wanted to put Park Slope in the 11th district to make it blue. That is a partisan reason. The reason it stretches around Red Hook like this is because the 7th district has a lot of Hispanic voters, as well as the fact that Nydia Velázquez lives in this area, I believe, so they wanted to put her in the 7th district, meaning they had to stretch this around here. There's also such a thin strip of here because the 12th district, Carolyn Maloney, almost lost a primary last year, and that was predominantly due to these gentrifying areas of Queens, which voted for the progressive over her. So to shore her up in a primary, they've taken these progressive areas out of her district, or at least most of them, added more moderate Manhattan areas to her district, giving her a better chance in a primary. And those are all reasons why this district looks so ugly. But then you have people that try to justify this. So you've got this New York Times article here, which, talks about how it's gerrymandered, talks about people saying it's gerrymandered, saying the Democrats have given up any high ground they had over Republicans on gerrymandering. And this is certainly true to an extent. I think Democrats are certainly very, very hypocritical. They say they don't support gerrymandering. They say they want fair districts, and then they go and support these gerrymandered maps. It's really hypocritical. It's terrible. But anyways, they try to justify it to an extent by saying, a district may look strangely shaped, but it may be a way of holding people together with a similar economic background or ethnic background. I mean, that's just crap. It doesn't make any sense at all. It says, its broad outlines stretching from the Upper West Side to Borough Park have been in place for decades. In 2012, a nonpartisan court-appointed special master gave her stamp of approval. And it's basically saying that it connects the Upper West Side and Borough Park together, which are two Jewish communities, and that in some ways justifies it. But it's really not similar at all. I mean, if we look at this map in terms of income, we can see here that this area over here, this Borough Park area, is a very poor area. And it is connected to the Upper West Side, which is still Jewish, but it's a very, very rich area. These are Orthodox Jews down here in Borough Park, predominantly Orthodox Jews. The areas up here in Manhattan are much more secular Jews, much more left-leaning. Obviously, they vote more for the Democrats. And to kind of equate them and say that they should be kept together merely because they are Jewish, and to split tons of communities just to do that, I feel like it's really not a good thing, and it's just an excuse used by a lot of people, predominantly Democrats, who want to gerrymander, who they don't want a red district in South Brooklyn, they don't want a red Staten Island district, and so you put a district that really should only be in Manhattan, and you put it in the 10th, and you put it into these red areas in Brooklyn. It's really terrible. They've kept the 6th district here, this predominantly Asian district. They've kept the Hispanic districts here, but they've somehow made it look super ugly, like just for no reason. I don't know why they've made it like this. They've put the 14th district, AOC's district, much more in the Queens area because, as I said, they had to take these progressive areas out of the 12th district to shore up Carolyn Maloney. Now AOC's district is much more based in Queens rather than the Bronx, although it does still have a small area of the Bronx. Looking further north here, we can see in the areas just above New York City, it's clearly gerrymandered as well. The 16th district stretches from areas in New York City or just close to New York City all the way up to areas upstate, and that's just the beginning. If we look at those congressional districts, we can see clearly they've gerrymandered Sean Patrick Maloney's district. They've gerrymandered the 19th district, Antonia Delgado's district. But if we look at these state senate districts, it looks even worse. I mean, some of these shapes are just absolutely terrible. If we zoom in on the New York area here, we can see just how terrible they are. We can see communities just sliced and diced like it's nothing. They haven't represented the interests of the communities. Like, what is the point of connecting this? And, of course, the actual reason is partisan reasons. You've got these Republican areas over here connected with these blue areas over here. And you can make the argument, it's connecting Asian voters or whatever district is connecting whatever group of voters. But at the end of the day, this map is drawn with partisan intent, and it doesn't need to be. These areas are so blue regardless, and Democrats are going to get the supermajority anyway. So even if you make the argument that they needed to do this, well, that's just simply not true. What is this district in the Bronx like this for? It really is just a joke. It's terrible that a state like New York, filled with so many politicians who complain about Republican gerrymandering, with people like Mark Elias, who is a New Yorker, who sues all of these other states for gerrymandering and then says, the New York map is legal and reflects the state. How about instead of suing Republican states all the time, or not just suing Republican states all the time, you sue some Democratic states as well for their terrible maps? Now, I think it's good that he sues states like Ohio and North Carolina and states like that, but he should also be suing these Democratic states. Why is this map fair, but North Carolina is not. You need someone that's principled on this issue. You need someone that's going to sue for both sides, that's going to stand up for gerrymandering on both sides. And right now we have partisan hacks that are just not doing anything about this issue, that just want to keep complaining about Republican gerrymandering or complaining about Democratic gerrymandering while not complaining about their own side. And many of you don't know what side I'm on, and honestly, that makes me happy, because I just want to be someone that's against gerrymandering no matter who does it. This map is terrible. Texas's map is terrible. Illinois' map is terrible. Georgia's map is terrible. All of those maps are bad, and it shouldn't matter what party they come from. A map like this does not reflect the communities in the state of New York. Why should communities in Borough Park of Brooklyn be connected with the Upper West Side? Why should communities in Westchester County be connected in areas in Suffolk County? Why should the districts look so ugly like this for no reason? It's not connecting any communities together, and it's just really terrible. You've got a lot of people celebrating this when they really shouldn't be. There are groups that are suing the map. It's not Mark Elias, because he would never do that. But there are groups suing. I hope that they are successful. I hope they can get this map struck down. As someone who is in New York, I feel a personal connection to this, because I want fair maps in the state. I want maps that reflect the state's geography, that represent the citizens and the people in the state of New York. And currently, that's not what we have. That's not what we're going to have under these new maps. Now, I have made hypothetical maps before. Now, this was my prediction, by the way. I did expect them to be aggressive. I didn't expect it to look as ugly as it did, but I did expect them to be very aggressive in the New York area. You know, I expected them to gerrymander the 11th district. I expected the 10th district to still go in Brooklyn, but I really didn't expect it to be as bad as it was in terms of how ugly it was and how really unnecessary it was. I mean, it's an effective gerrymander, and they've done a good job at gerrymandering, but really it's not... It doesn't need to look so bad, even if you are trying to gerrymander it. Now, as for a fair map, this is at least my idea of a fair map. Now, this map's kind of old. I would make some changes to it, certainly, but it keeps counties together. It keeps communities together, and I feel that this would be a much better map. As you can see here, especially in the upstate area, a lot of these counties are really kept together. You got the 22nd district, which is basically just these three counties here. 23rd district, this central New York area. 25th district, western New York, keeps Buffalo and Rochester together. 19th district, this central New York area. 21st district, northern New York. The 20th district is basically the Albany area. Looking in these New York City districts, you've got a district that is entirely in the South Brooklyn area that would go to the Republicans. Of course, it's something they'd never draw now because of the fact that it would give Republicans an extra district, but I believe that's a fair district. You'd have a Republican district on Long Island, two lean Democratic districts, a fourth district, which would not stretch into Long Island unlike the 3rd district now. You've got your plurality Asian district. You've got 3 black majority districts. You've got 2 districts in Manhattan that are solely in Manhattan, with the exception of this little sliver over here. You've got this 10th district here, which, keeps a lot of these gentrifying and more progressive communities together in areas like Williamsburg, Greenpoint, Astoria, in Brooklyn and Queens. Then you've got these 2 Hispanic districts over here. So I believe that this would be a very big improvement over the current map. I believe it would be something that would accurately reflect the communities of the state. Now, you can nitpick about problems with the map. Overall, I think it's a pretty good map, though. Though, yes, of course, there are some changes that I would make if I did do it again. But overall, my point is that Democrats, they pretend to complain about gerrymandering, but really most of these people are not principled on the issue. They support gerrymandering when it helps their side, and that is the kind of mindset, that is the kind of thinking that we need to stop if we really want to make progress on this issue, which we have been making. But this kind of one-upping strategy, if they do it, we got to do it, is really not helping anyone. But overall, I just wanted to come back to talk about this issue that's very personal to me, that I really feel strongly about, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So thank you for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.